We are live on Substack. Uh, and we're going to talk about a very dangerous topic. My name is Dr. Matthias Beier, and Phil and I, we are friends and colleagues. It's wonderful that we can have a conversation where we have invited you as well. We will talk about Christian nationalism. How did we get here and where do we go? Phil Gulley is a best-selling Quaker author. Uh, One of his books that I really love a lot is Unlearning God, but he is best known, I think, would that be right, for your Harmony series?
Yeah,
No?
probably.
Yeah, which I also love a lot because it pokes fun at religion.
I
But at
would
the
never
s-
do that.
no, you would never do that, right? But at the same time, you are really, uh, yeah, you're showing the goodness of what is possible,
That's right.
right? And so that's Philip Gulley, and I'm Matthias Beier, and I'm the author of A Violent God Image, which influences a lot of what I think about Christian nationalism. And so, Phil, I've heard you talk about Christian nationalism
Mhm,
in
mhm.
sermons that I attend. I go to your meeting, Quaker
Yes.
meeting, Friends, Fairfield Friends meeting. And so we talked about, let's talk first, what's driving Christian nationalism that is so prevalent right now, that has uh, usurped the highest echelons of power in this
Mhm,
country.
mhm.
Uh, what what do you think is driving it?
Well, when I was in college, I did a paper about the rise of the moral majority, and at the time, I said, "Well, what's driving it in America is Ronald Reagan."
Uh,
And I realize now that, insofar as America is concerned, it predates Reagan by centuries.
yeah,
That there has always been a segment within the Christian faith that
yeah,
has aligned itself
yeah,
for the purposes of political power
right,
with the church,
yeah,
and that a great number of people in the church have been willing to be co-opted
yes,
so that they can have that political power.
yes,
So it's almost an affair of mutual convenience.
uh,
The political kingdoms gain the moral authority of the church
right,
and the imprimatur of the church,
right,
and the church gets earthly power,
right.
though it has always been urged to not invest itself in that in the world,
Hmm.
as our Christian forebears used to say. Um, but the temptation was just too strong, and here we are,
Here we are.
where this um, I don't want to say evil alliance, but I will say it is a very dangerous alliance.
That's really interesting that you shy away from calling it an evil alliance, because I actually think this is kind of the essence of what evil on some level is.
So the powers and principalities.
The powers and principalities
Yeah.
with Walter Wink, right?
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
Yes. And also, if I may sort of join join in there and jump in here, sort of you pointed to like the moral majority, right?
Right.
And that title itself suggests that, hey, morality can be used for ruling, right? And
Correct.
that's on some level what they said, right? Jerry Falwell, and then later, family, James Dobson in another
Mhm.
similar way. Now, uh, when I think about this, and I want to kind of check that out with you, because I think that on some level, Christian nationalists do exactly what they're saying they're not doing, what they're saying everyone else does.
Correct.
And that on some level it's on some level an ingenious move.
Hmm.
And the way I think of it is I actually think that it's very helpful for us as people following Jesus, uh, or appreciating the Bible, to use the Bible against Christian nationalism.
Hmm.
And so one way I do that is by I really think that a lot of what drives it from my perspective is a fear of scarcity.
Right.
And that fear of scarcity, we see that in the Bible on the first couple of pages in
Hmm.
the form of the voice of the serpent.
Hmm.
Because, and I think Christian nationalism on some level is very similar to the voice of the serpent. And I'm not saying this in terms of it being the devil, or that's not what I mean with evil.
Hmm.
In fact, that whole theology is a result of, as Reverend William Barber calls it, theological malpractice,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's what that is. But I think if we just understand that the voice of the serpent is just a voice of absolute scarcity,
Hmm.
and it's distorted.
Right.
In Genesis 2, it says, and God created Adam and Eve. And these are symbolic stories. This is not about the beginning and the history. This is about, do we experience ourselves as loved,
Hmm.
as there is enough to go around, or do we experience ourselves then in Genesis 3 as everything's going to be taken away from us? Nothing
Right.
is there. And that's the voice of the serpent. It says, should God have said that you shouldn't have eat from any of the trees in the garden? That is the biggest lie. And I think Christian nationalism uh, tells people that lie,
Hmm.
that, oh, these other people, they're going to take everything away from you.
That belongs to us.
That belongs to us, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it ends up being misogynistic
Yes.
because we don't want women to usurp the male role
Right.
and authority.
Yeah.
It becomes racist because we don't want black and brown people and
Yes.
Asian people
Yeah.
to take our country, which was God made for white people.
That's the voice, and that's the voice of the serpent. That's
Right.
like the
Right.
voice of
Exactly.
scarcity, and they're so identified with it,
Yes.
aren't they?
And it becomes so ugly, which we're
Yeah,
witnessing firsthand.
it becomes very ugly,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then I think it leads kind of like what you just said about like us versus them.
Uh-huh.
I think again in the Bible actually that shows up too. Once they then try to fulfill this or like calm this fear of scarcity with something finite, right? Has nothing to do with sexuality, by the way. uh, then they're like, oh no, this isn't enough for us. We can't really do this.
Uh-huh.
But we didn't have to do this in the first place.
Right.
We didn't. And then they feel ashamed. What's very interesting also is because Christian nationalism is very much, in my view, very much based on the idea that people are willfully evil.
Yes. And
And
flawed and born that way. And
right, and born that way. And that goes straight back to this Genesis 3 story.
Mhm.
But they're distorting that completely. They're always saying, oh, you fell, and this was like 6,000 years ago, and therefore God needs to break your will, everyone's will. But really, this is based all on a distorted view of God. And then that distorted view, which again, in your book, Unlearning God, you describe all the ways in which that God image is distorted. And that then leads to Cain and Abel. Because if there's not enough to go around, then the others are my biggest competitors. Now I have to get rid of them, right? Because they're like stealing my blessing from God. Right?
So Cain becomes the biggest mass murderer in the history of the world. He kills 25% of the world's
Right.
population.
Right. Right. Yes, yes. And that is what I think, that is what, here's the thing. Marco Rubio, I can't believe that they argue this about Iran. Of course, no one wants, I mean, I don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon, but I don't want the United States to have a nuclear weapon. Who is the only one who ever has used a nuclear weapon? the United States, who has contemplated in the Iraq war to throw a nuclear weapon
and destroy
Cheney.
civilization.
Yeah, and I, several times I was like, when Trump said, we're going to destroy an entire civilization, for
Yeah.
me, that's code word. We're going to throw the bomb.
Right.
And I'm like, and then you say that you are the one fighting against the evil
Yes,
regime.
I know.
Now that is evil. Using moral presets, because that's what the serpent does too. Oh, you will be God. You will be good.
So maybe I should resurrect the word evil when I talk about Christian nationalism.
Maybe, but not in a demonizing way. I don't
Right.
think it's demonizing. I think that's the big danger, that we say you are evil and I'm not evil. We all have evil in ourselves.
Well,
That's
Scott
what I
Peck defines evil as militant ignorance. And
Yes.
for Christian nationalism to happen,
Yeah.
militant ignorance
Yeah.
has to be present in a variety of places and levels.
Yeah.
You have to be historically ignorant.
Yes.
You have to be theologically ignorant.
Mhm.
You have to be scripturally ignorant
Right.
in order to buy into this.
Right.
And unfortunately, those defects are very obvious and very abundant in today's America.
Yeah, a lot of ignorance. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I want to say something to viewers. Welcome to this, and you will have an opportunity to ask questions. There is a discussion forum that we shared in the announcement, and so we will start looking at some of these questions. Jocelyn Vare is here; she'll be reading the questions to us, beginning at around 6:30. I'm sorry, 7:30. Yeah, I don't know why I keep saying 6:30, right, in my mind. But yeah, 7:30. Now that makes me think what you just said about the ignorance, right? I have a friend who is a pastor in New Orleans, and he does wonderful work with the community. I think it's called Grace Church, and he recently shared a 2 pages from Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who talked about the source of evil. And I don't know if you are familiar with that, but he basically said it has to do with stupidity. Now, when I think it's the same thing that you're saying in some sense, like ignorance. That's what I think Bonhoeffer meant. It's not like being cognitively stupid. That's not what that means. It's that you're emotionally, on some level, you become a follower. You don't think for yourself, and you can be you can be very rich, you can be very successful, you can be very smart, you can be somebody who creates a nuclear bomb, but you can be humanly stupid. That's how he used it. So I'm not trying to be derogatory here.
You are determined not to know.
Yeah, you're determined not to know. Yeah.
And how often do we see this? When you engage these people, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to discuss that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that time and again. I see that when I talk with my friends who voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I say, let's talk about that and what that means and the possible consequences of this.
Yeah.
Nope, don't want to talk about it.
Why do you think that is, though? Why do you think people get so siloed in?
I think now at this point, after a full term and now well past a year into a second disastrous term, some of what drives it is embarrassment. They're finally starting to realize that their support of him was misplaced. And
kind of digging in.
And they're too embarrassed to say. And so you hear things like, I just want this all to be done. And think that by ignoring it, it will somehow all be done. It's exacting a toll on our nation that I don't think they anticipated.
Yeah.
And I think it's exacting a toll in their personal relationships that they didn't anticipate. I have a man who I've known since we were in school together, elementary school together.
Yeah.
He has a daughter who is a bright, lovely, wonderful young lady and the apple of his eye. And she no longer talks with him.
Oh.
because
Yeah.
his support for Donald Trump
Yeah.
is so morally offensive to her
Yeah.
that she simply cannot stand to be in her father's presence.
Mm.
And so I think he is bearing the cost of that and realizing the cost of that
Mhm.
profoundly and
Mhm.
deeply,
Mhm.
and is hoping that if he doesn't talk about it, that somehow that will bring reconciliation. And I
Mm.
was talking with him, and I said, "I don't think it will.
No.
I think you need to go to her and admit your error and
Yeah.
ask for her forgiveness,"
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
he seems unable to do because he's also stuck in this mindset that many parents get. I'm the father. It's her job to respect me.
Yes. Yes.
And you can say, well, it's your job to do things worthy of respect. And you haven't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's such a tragic story on some, but I think this is what
It's
many people are
it's
experiencing
happening all over
in
America.
in families everywhere, and on some level,
It's happening in churches.
right, it's happening in churches, and
Yep.
I teach counseling. I teach counseling and pastoral theology,
Mhm.
and I also work as a counselor, as a therapist,
So how many times do you hear this
and
thing
so
come up?
I hear this coming up, and I think what's so heartbreaking for me is like the father that you're describing on
Mhm.
some level uh, is you say shame. I also think there is a fear of vulnerability.
Right.
There's a real fear of vulnerability, and
I get that. I'm that way myself sometimes.
yeah, and me too. I mean, that's a really hard thing to say. Hey, I don't have all the answers.
Right.
And maybe, yeah, I followed this, but now I realize what's happening with everyone. That's not right.
Mhm.
And I think these kinds of vulnerable conversations are not easy to have.
Now imagine this.
Yeah.
Let's throw Christian nationalism in the work.
Right, right, right.
And so what we see now are families where one family member who continues to support
Yeah,
Trump
yeah,
thinks the other
yeah,
family members who don't
yeah.
are somehow less American.
They're less American and they're
And
demon
they
possessed.
don't love their country.
Yeah,
They've allied themselves with the Democrats, who
yeah,
we know are evil,
right,
and
right.
and buy into this whole mythology about this. And it just hits us at several different places and points in our lives, and
It
it leaves all of this separation in its wake.
Yeah, and what I find so painful to watch is that this is all manufactured very intentionally.
Mhm.
Christian nationalism. So the books that are out there on Christian nationalism, one of the books that I really recommend everyone to read is by Catherine Stewart, The Power Worshippers.
Yes.
She lays out how this really developed historically in the last century and this. And she emphasizes, while it sounds like a religious movement, they're only using Christianity as a cover for a political movement.
Right.
This is a
And an
political
economic movement.
and an economic movement. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Political and economic, and they're misusing religion
Mhm.
for that. And again, they're using fear to motivate people. But when we look at the actual expression of religion that you see in the government, it's all idol worship. It's like literally the golden
The
calf.
golden calf. Look at
It's the
Pete
gold.
Hegseth.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth or all the gold that's everywhere in the White House.
Right.
It's like it's a fertility cult. That is what the Bible would call it.
Right.
And these families are collateral damage.
Mhm. Mhm.
That is what pains me.
Yes.
And there will be a real rude awakening, and then many families already have really been split. And so in psychology we call that uh, the mechanism of splitting.
Mhm.
We call that actually that way.
Mhm.
Mechanism of splitting, when a political movement can use psychology to split people inside into absolute good and evil, and then they have to choose. I'm going to be absolute good or absolute evil. Of course, everyone wants to be absolute good.
Right.
And then they rationalize, okay, whatever I do is right.
Is good.
And if I killed someone for good reasons, then that's right.
It's justifiable.
It's justifiable.
I can wipe out an entire civilization.
Right. And you out there are all the bad people.
Yeah.
And that is what happens in families. The splitting happens there.
Yeah. I often hear people comment about how they'll make a comment in passing about how they use the word dumb, how dumb Donald Trump is. And I think it's a gross mistake to call Donald Trump dumb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think he is well versed in the ways of manipulation, of psychological abuse.
Oh, very much so.
That he does that masterfully. And if we underestimate that and his ability to do that, we put ourselves at great risk.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he actually said that on The Apprentice once, or in some interview, he said, I know that what I'm selling may not be real, but that's how you have to do it.
Right.
You have to promise people more than you can give them.
And and he said that's why he ran on the Republican ticket.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if ever there's a functional, like, I'm going to use you, right?
Right.
That's how he's doing it, right? Yeah. Now he, though, I think one of the problems is that they're like hand in glove. They have found each other. It's like a marriage made in, I don't think it's made in heaven, but it's made in hell on summer. But again, I don't believe in the devil. I just want to make that clear. We create hells on earth.
But if there were, this is what it would look like.
This is what it looks like. But he, I mean, it's so clear to see he wants to put his name everywhere, and they rationalize it. And so what I think Christian nationalists have done is they have hijacked God. That's what they've done. They have hijacked God. And I think maybe that can lead us to a little bit like, what do we do about this?
What do we do about it?
How do we counter it? I wonder what you think from your perspective. You have been a Quaker pastor for how many years?
42 years now.
For 42 years. So you have seen a lot, and you are in the Quaker tradition, which is known for being a pacifist tradition, right? Nonviolent tradition. How do you, what do you think we can do, or how can we affect all of this in a way that Christian nationalism can be countered and we can kind of turn a corner here?
I think ultimately we have to be very clear and very open and honest about the dangers it presents. And we cannot let ourselves be told to stop.
Yeah.
And pastors often are. When we raise these issues, people say, I don't come here to hear politics.
Right.
And my answer to that is, the definition of politics is the art and science of living together.
Yeah.
How is that not a topic fit for the church?
Yeah.
How is that not important for us to discuss?
Yeah.
So part of it, Matthias, is education.
It's education. I agree with you on that. Yeah.
We have to get over this notion that politics is something that gets talked about in church.
Right.
I think we're so bad at politics because we don't talk about it.
Because we don't talk about it. That's right.
It's the same reason that young people grow up knowing nothing about sex.
Right.
We don't talk about it, or we couch it in such legalism and fear and misinformation that when the children need to know about it, when they grow up and get married and need to have some knowledge of how this all works and the role and importance of intimacy, they don't know the language.
Right. Yeah.
And we're much the same way with politics in this nation. We don't know the language, and we don't know how to engage politically in a mature, creative way.
Right.
It's just bomb throwing.
Right. Yeah. You know, that's so, it reminds me of, I had this debate with Lieutenant Governor Beckwith last November.
Right.
And the question that the Indianapolis Star asked us is, well, how what's the role of religion in public life, right? So it was wide open. They didn't ask, about Christian nationalism directly, but that was the focus of their coverage.
Uh-huh.
By the way, they won
They sure did.
national award for that coverage,
Yes.
which
And
featured
they
that
should have.
debate.
They should
So
have.
that was great. But I think that is like we are asked sometimes that, like one of the candidates right now that's running, Talrico, he is kind of doing a similar thing that Jimmy Carter did,
Right.
wearing his religion on his sleeve, but being very clear we're not imposing religion, right?
Mhm.
So Beckwith argued humans need moral guidance, and the government should require that moral guidance of people and be clear, and that's why it needs Christian leaders. That's kind of some of the Christian nationalist thinking. What I argued back on some level is, well, first of all, of course, the founders were not at all talking about this being a Christian nation.
They had seen what it did to Europe.
They had seen what it did to Europe. They didn't want to dominate one religion on another. Many of them were influenced by Christian thought, but more in a deist way,
Right.
and also by the Enlightenment. Now, the Christian nationalists, they want to throw out the Enlightenment philosophy.
Right.
One of their founders, called Rousas Rashtuni, he is one of the people who came up with the ideas. He wrote Institutes of Biblical Law. He actually argued against secularism,
Right.
against humanism. And,
Yes.
he even wrote something against Freud. He wrote a whole book
I'm familiar with his efforts.
with his efforts. They're very appalling, but that is driving. And he wants to, from a Christian perspective, I think what he is trying to do is he's trying to overturn Jesus,
Mhm.
in my perspective, because he's saying we need to go back to the biblical law, by which he means the law in Leviticus. And then you ask, well, what do you mean? And he says, well, the ritual laws, that's what Jesus superseded.
Right.
But all the moral and social laws, including stoning people for being, for having
Right.
adultery and all kinds of things.
Killing the gays.
Yeah, killing the gays, which there's nothing against gays in the Bible, by the way. All the verses that are in the Bible that they translate with homosexuality today is actually about rich people playing God
Mhm.
and using certain other people for it. That's a lot of what
Well,
that
and
is
the
about.
abuse of the Sodom and Gomorrah story,
Yeah,
that God killed the people of Sodom and Gomorrah because
Yeah.
they practiced homosexuality, when it was clearly stated
Yeah.
that it was their maltreatment of the poor.
maltreatment of the poor, and it was that they were maltreating. They wanted to do something against the angels of God.
Right.
That's what they wanted to do. It was trying to basically fight God. That is what that was.
Yeah.
Trying to fight.
Fascinating story.
It's a
It's
fascinating.
been horribly abused.
It
and
has
misused. Yeah.
exactly. It has been horribly
Yeah.
abused. Yeah. So, I think education. You're saying education is really important. I personally also think that, with this whole fear, I think that I believe fear is the driving emotion
Mhm.
in Christian nationalism.
How do you move people beyond this?
How do you move? So I think the fear of scarcity, on some level, we have to help people to say, not believe this anymore. It's not true. That is the voice of the serpent.
Mhm.
That is what it is. And there's enough to go around for everyone.
You might have a book
Principle of
in that.
abundance.
You might have a book in that.
Maybe, yeah.
Isn't it interesting that with the rise of prosperity theology,
Yeah,
that I think they have rightly
Yeah.
determined
Yeah.
that this fear of scarcity, it can be a driving, motivating force for people.
Yeah.
Now, I object strongly
Yeah.
to the direction at which this has ended up.
Yeah.
How it's ended up is
Yeah.
personal wealth of the televangelist
yes.
through manipulation and fraud and
Yeah.
and fear and
Including Paula White, the spiritual
Right.
advisor
Yeah.
of Trump, right?
sitting
Yes.
there in the Trump White House.
Yeah. And that is that is again, a great, again, if we go to biblical story, like the golden calf,
Mhm.
that came about when Moses was like, for them, too long up talking to God. And then they're like, Aaron, hey, don't you want like a golden calf? Because we're here, we're hungry and whatever, we need some worship. And so they did that in the fear of scarcity.
Right.
Right. And that on some level is like a fata morgana, a fata morgana, like in the desert.
Mhm.
You think there's water. That is what Christian nationalism is. You think there is salvation, but when you get closer to it, it all disappears.
It all disappears.
All disappears.
And what's the word for that again?
In this may be my German. I'm originally from a fata morgana. It's the illusion that you see in the desert.
Like an oasis.
A mirage. Yeah, a mirage, right. It's a mirage. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Christian nationalism is a mirage,
Mhm.
and it will fall in on itself. Now, where I sit, I believe addressing the fears and speaking to people's fears. You do not have to be afraid. You don't have to believe them. Hitler, I don't compare Trump to Hitler. I think the comparison that's not an accurate comparison. But every fascist works with fear.
Right.
They always work with fear. They tell everyone there's not enough to go around. I'm the savior. I'm godlike. Worship me, and then you're good. And we know where that ends. It always ends in total misery. Lots of people dead. And they can only do it if they have people who have a follower mentality. So the other thing that education, appealing to their mind, right? Addressing the fear and helping people create a solid sense of self,
Mhm.
strengthening and trusting people. Trust yourself.
And providing real opportunity for people.
Yes.
It is a cultural and social sin in this country that you can work 40 hours a week
Exactly.
and not afford housing.
Yes.
Adequate housing, food for your children,
Yes.
healthcare. It is now, if there is something that's evil, it is that social structure.
And that is manufactured scarcity.
Yeah.
That's manufactured scarcity. The whole system. We have $1 trillion for the defense budget.
Right.
But we don't have 20 billion that would get rid of hunger for a whole year.
Right.
We don't.
Now,
we want people to struggle.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then we can appeal to them.
We can appeal to them, right. Yeah.
And grow this nice coterie of oligarchs on the side.
Yeah. And then, of course, and we want to get to the questions now. I think one of the things that also, goes on there, they make people feel bad for their misery by using religion and say, if you only believe more, then God would bless you.
It's your fault.
Yeah, yeah. Like Paula White, she had an appeal like, oh, if you only give me $5,000, then God will bless you. And if you don't, then you won't get blessed.
See, I was thinking of using that as a sermon this Sunday.
Sorry. So it's a good story.
Do you think maybe I shouldn't?
No, you could. You could. I think that's a great story.
I think I'd probably get fired.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for yourself. Not as an illustration. Oh, I see.
What did the old televangelists say? Send your money to God, but make the check out to me.
Right. It's funny. That is funny.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I wonder, do we have any questions?
None have come in yet. Some good comments that
Okay.
people are reacting to, but we
Okay.
have collected some
Yeah.
questions along the way. So
Okay.
you to get the
Yeah, get the party started with questions. That's important. If that's good with you, right?
Isn't it a good thing if Christianity can influence in a good way our culture today? Isn't it good for Christianity to influence our culture?
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the only caveat of mine would be, who's Christianity?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm perfectly happy for James Tallarico's Christianity to influence culture, because ultimately I believe that his understanding of Christianity enhances and nurtures and gives life to our shared common life.
Yeah.
Um, do I want the pastor of Dallas First Baptist? Do I want his version of Christianity? Or better, case in point, Doug Wilson,
Yeah.
the pastor of Pete Hegseth, who doesn't believe women should vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I want that to be the Christianity that informs American culture? No, I do not.
Yeah.
So,
And why not? Why not?
because it leaves too many out.
Yeah.
and it h- and it and the and if there is someone benefiting, it is always at the expense of the other.
Right.
In this case, women who are disenfranchised. And from what we can tell in the Supreme Court issue this week, the threat of the disenfranchisement of Black people,
Yes. Yes.
which is perilous. So I don't mind the idea, and I know that I know lots of loving, caring, bright, intelligent Christians who want to influence culture. But before I would say, and it should, the first question I would ask is, well, let's talk about your understanding of Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who was the who was the ethicist who said that the measure of the ethics of someone is if if a system is ethical, you could put yourself in any position in that society and you would be okay.
Sounds like Immanuel Kant, maybe, or
No, it's
that
not.
was,
But that
was
was the
Christian.
measure
Yeah.
for a just society. That we
Or
could
Reinhold
be
Niebuhr.
in any
Yeah.
that we could be in any position in society.
Right.
We could be worker, and we would still be safe. We would have enough. We
Right.
would still be cherished and valued.
Yes.
And to me, Christianity that does that
Yeah.
is the kind of Christianity I want to see influencing American culture.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with that. But also, I think maybe part of the question that may be there too is I don't want to give Christianity any exclusivity.
Exactly.
Right. And also, I think, and this is part of the debate of what the founding fathers thought, they did not want to establish religion. That's what
Right.
that's in our First Amendment.
So can the best of
No.
Judaism inform our culture?
Judaism or
Islam
is the best of Islam, and the difference between religions is actually not okay. This Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism or Buddhism, the there in each of these there are legalistic people that interpret religion in a legalistic way, and then there are more mystical people that are much more open, that are freer, and that are more socially oriented.
Yeah.
And so what I think the founders actually in this country emphasized is that as a politician, you can be guided by your faith in your conscience, but you cannot impose
Right.
through legal means in a what I would consider a theocratic way your version of life, and that is what people like Micah Beckwith want to do, and that's what people like in the government want to do. Like Russ Vought is a key figure in this whole thing. Pete Hegseth with the military, J.D. Vance is in this, Marco Rubio has drank the Kool-Aid. They all have drank it because they're like in proximity to power. And when they sent out as actually one of the people on Substack that I see there and follow is Brian Kaler, who uh, uh, writes. He has analyzed a lot of Hegseth prayer services, and he is part of a progressive Baptist organization, and he also shows how this is really not the Christianity that we have in Scripture and so on.
Right.
So from my perspective, our faith can influence our politics, of course, but we should not use it to impose or make it a state religion.
Right.
There's no state religion. Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah.
What is an example of Christian nationalism that you see today that's especially dangerous? An example that's especially dangerous.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
Efforts to Christianize the chaplaincy
Yeah.
cadre within the U.S. Armed Forces.
Yeah.
Rewarding those chaplains who agree with him, removing, and I think it will actually lead to the removal of chaplains who don't. I think he is creating a military environment now in which agreement with Hegseth's beliefs and the precepts of Doug Wilson, his pastor, will be rewarded. And those chaplains who resist it will suffer.
Yeah.
And I think that's really dangerous because once you have a group within the military that is promulgating, articulating a worldview rather than serving as a moral check, that to me is really dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. So that's where
you would think.
That strikes me as really dangerous because the military has such not only military power, tremendous cultural power in American society.
Yeah.
I mean, look what we do with veterans. We venerate them and we give them a moral pass. And but I think like any cultural institution, it needs to earn its respect every day.
Yeah. So, the question was, what is a particularly dangerous form of Christian nationalism that we see
today?
Yeah, and so you talked about Pete Hegseth, and I think I agree. I mean, to have the military in the hands of someone like Pete Hegseth,
right,
who really has an apocalyptic theology. Now, one of the things with Doug Wilson, the interesting thing is that Doug Wilson is actually someone who does not believe that, there will be a quick apocalypse or anything like that, and that Armageddon is coming or something like that. He doesn't believe that.
Right.
He is what's called a post-millennialist. He believes that the millennium that the book of the Apocalypse talks about already has happened, and that was like when early Christians were persecuted in the first century. But he believes that for Christ to return, this is the thinking, and there's a whole nother conversation we could have about what does that mean, Christ's return, because again, it's not anything temporal. But he believes that for that to happen, and this, in my view, is very dangerous Christianism, the desire to dominate all spheres of culture and to, if necessary, take it by force.
Education, government,
yes,
finance,
what are family?
Are there seven mountains?
Seven realms, seven spheres, and then they called it the seven mountains.
Right.
the Seven Mountain Mandate, which Walna
And I think
has.
Rushduni was really
And
the driver
Rushduni,
of that.
well, so Rushduni was involved in this. He created dominion theology, right? Which goes back to that. Only Christians can really implement Genesis 1:28, dominate the world. This is how they read it, because only they are saved, and so they're the ones who need to lead the world, and therefore democracy is really not a thing because most people are not saved. That's why, for me, one of the most dangerous things in terms of Christian nationalism, they're trying to chip away at democracy. In the movie Bad Faith, if you have not seen the movie Bad Faith, it's on Amazon Prime. They are explicitly, one of the architects was Paul Weyrich, and he said, we want as few as people to go vote.
Right.
But the Christians need to vote. Our Christians need to vote because the fewer people in general vote, and this is why there were attacks on voting. That's why there are attacks on voting rights left and right by the Christian nationalist movement, because they want to undermine voting and basically say the less people in general vote, but the more Christian nationalists vote, the more power we have.
Yep, and outside,
and that is democratically very dangerous. Now, there's one more thing I want to say in terms of that's undermining democracy. The other thing is, I think, the perversion of morality. Like Christian nationalists have recently talked about toxic empathy.
Yes.
And basically saying your empathic, warm feeling, they can be corrupted by the devil and make people dependent.
Oh, Jesus told us that often.
Exactly. Yeah, right. But that's what they say. And so where this is dangerous is this is behind reducing Medicaid programs.
Right.
This is behind cutting SNAP. This is how the Christian nationalist policies trickle down to make people poorer, because they're saying, if you are poor, you need to work hard. You shouldn't depend on the government to give you things.
Right.
And they are explicitly saying that there's one person who actually, Barton, I want to mention this person. Barton is someone who is the founder of Wall Builders, and he is connected with, he recently was hosted by Micah Beckwith. And Micah Beckwith, on some level, got his ideas of the 3/5 compromise being a good thing. He got that from Barton. And Barton basically argues that all this charity or all this welfare system, the New Deal, that was from the devil. And it keeps people from getting on their own feet. That's what they think the serpent is. It is such a perversion. It's like they would have thrown Jesus in prison, for doing good works. That's what they would do.
Well, actually, they did. They did.
They did. Well, I mean, they would crucify him again, right?
Would you say what's happening to Christianity is similar to Constantinism in the early years of Christianity?
You spoke about that before we started.
We were talking about that before this.
Yeah. Would we say that what we're in now is similar to Constantinianism early on?
And I would say that the impulse that caused Constantine to make to ally his political power with the emerging Christian faith are the very same principles that drive it today.
Yeah.
A need to co-opt a growing cultural force like religion for personal gain.
Yeah.
It's clear Donald Trump has done this masterfully. Where in Trump's life, prior to his announcement for the presidency, did he show the slightest amount of interest in religion.
He still doesn't. It's just for show.
He still does.
It's his reality show.
Yeah. And so, but I would say the impulse was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Born in the minds of those who lack any understanding or appreciation for what it means to be a whole human.
Yeah.
Living in with compassion,
right,
in a just society.
I love that. Being a whole human.
Right.
Right. Which, if you're a whole human, you don't have to create a lot of enemies outside.
No, that's right.
You don't, because
life is enough.
Life is enough, and being a whole human means you don't fight evil outside and keep looking for it. You look for what is it? The beam?
The log in
the
your own
the
eye.
log in your own eye, yeah.
Yeah.
Now Constantine, I fully agree with you that he is the one who who co-opted the message of Jesus.
But you mentioned someone who predated or
well, afterwards, I mean,
the same century, yeah.
So what Constantine, Constantine, the interesting thing is how Constantine converted to Christianity is basically, I believe it was on the eve of the battle at the Milvic Bridge in 312. He had a vision. And he had a vision, what he says, Christ appeared to him. Now, I personally think, in terms of my book, I think he had a violent God image vision. That's what I believe. But he saw in his vision Jesus saying to him, if he only converts, then he'll win.
Right.
And so here we have basically an early version of Pete Hegseth, thinking that, oh, if I only believe and have prayer services in the Pentagon, then the United States will be top dog again and will be it forever. And so he wins the battle at the Milvic Bridge. And that is when Christianity stops being persecuted.
He wins, the church loses.
The church loses, yes, that's right. And then in 380, Theodosius made Christianity the world religion, the state religion. And that is when Christianity sold its soul. Yeah. And we have had fights ever since.
although interestingly, there have always been dimensions and expressions of Christianity that have really resisted that.
Exactly.
I think of my Amish neighbors.
Yes.
Near our farm. I think of Quakers. I think of Mennonites.
Yeah. Or Hildegard von Bingen, or people, Francis.
Yeah.
After whom Pope Francis was named. Yes. There were always people who resisted. They were prophetic.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
Sometimes people get on Jehovah Witnesses about their eccentricities, and I say, you got to hand it to them.
Yeah.
You got to hand it to them. They haven't sold out. They haven't sold out. They're a little flaky.
Yeah.
And I'd prefer they not knock on my door at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. But by golly, they haven't sold out.
Yeah.
They still, on some deep, very existential level, they understand that Christianity is not about violence.
It's not about violence.
And not about getting the power through the world.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We have another question.
Yes. Yeah. So how can Christians oppose Christian nationalism most effectively?
How can Christians oppose Christian nationalism most effectively? I think by talking about it. I think Christian nationalism at its root is a choice motivated and encouraged by theological ignorance and historical evidence, and that the more we devote ourselves to studying both history and theology, and talking about that openly from the pulpit, in our classes, in our daily conversations with people, that the toxicity of Christian nationalism will fade. I don't think it'll happen overnight. We've spent a long time getting here, and I think we're going to be a long time leaving it. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Probably not even in our lives.
I fully agree. We have to talk about it. And I think my my view is that on some level we have to go back to the basics. I a lot of Christian nationalism is based on things that they don't often quote Jesus, and if they quote Jesus, interestingly, they typically quote verses that we know from historical research. Were not said by him, but later attributed to him by a church that was trying to differentiate itself from the Jewish religion.
Yeah, and it's mostly, when you do hear them talk,
Yeah.
it's the Hebrew Scriptures,
It's
the
the
Old Testament, or Paul.
But the Hebrew Scripture also only the
Right, the legal.
legalistic things. They don't quote Jeremiah
They
raging
don't quote
against
Micah.
raging against or Micah raging against the landowners and all of that. They don't
Right.
quote the prophetic.
It's a very
voices.
selective.
So where I sit I believe actually that the heart of Christianity is that it's a therapeutic religion.
Mhm.
And I actually, this is not my original idea. This is in my book, A Violent God Image. This is a lot of what I described there I grew up in Germany, and at the time I went to seminary in Germany. I don't know if I ever told you this. In Germany, I was from 1988 to 1992.
Mhm.
So the wall came down. And I was in seminary, and while the wall comes down, there was this big brouhaha in politics. But at the same time, a wall came down in religion, in the Catholic Church. Incidentally, there was a guy called Drew, like I studied at Drew University. Drew, Ermann. You can Google him, and he was a theologian, and he also had studied psychology. And he realized that, we often say that the stories in the gospel, that maybe there were just covert stories about the kingdom of God and Jesus being the Son of God and all this dogmatic stuff. That's the church has often read the Gospels. But he said, actually, if you read the Gospels like healing stories that I see happening in the therapy room all the time,
Right.
if you read them like that Jesus breaks through all these laws, divine laws.
Right.
He flaunts the Sabbath, right? And he connects with people. He is in touch with people.
Mhm.
He has empathy in the name of God, empathy. And he breaks through all of that. And then he says, what is the law? What is the law of God for? If it hurts any human being, it's not from God.
Right.
That's how he says the Sabbath law, the Sabbath is made for human beings, not human beings for the Sabbath. That's in the nutshell, Jesus.
And that might be the real danger of Christian nationalism. And maybe we can end with this thought.
Yeah.
That Christian nationalism is not satisfied until others hurt.
Until others hurt, yes.
Until others hurt.
Yes.
It is not interested in healing.
No.
It is not interested in societal wholeness.
Yeah.
It only wants the other to hurt.
Yes.
And when we see that, we know that that is not the way of God.
It is not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So.
Very well said. That's a fitting closing word.
Yeah.
Phil, this was wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You get full credit for the idea.
But without you, it wouldn't have happened. So very, very appreciative. Thank you all for joining us. And check out Phil's Substack, Plain Speech, and my Substack, Religion and Society on the Couch. And maybe until another time.
We went to seminary at the same time. You in Germany, me in Indianapolis at Christian Theological Seminary,
where I teach now.
Yes, where
Really?
I spent most of my time playing ping pong in the basement.
Really?
I now realize the
soccer.
big
Like, what is
difference.
this? Foosball. Yeah, I play foosball. That is very funny.
Thanks for joining us, friends.
Thank you for joining us. So long.